in October 2000, I believed I was God, but I wasn't sure what it entailed. On the 1st of October, I travelled to the West Country in Somerset or something, and in 2001 or the year 2000, I thought if there is a God, then it's me, but I stopped really believing in God, so I became an atheist in the year 2001 or something, because I hadn't seen any evidence that had changed them in any way much. And it was just like, I don't know, I can't see anything, so... In 2004, I thought to myself that this whole God thing that's not really true. I'm still the same person, and I put those thoughts to rest, but I still believe that there was a way to stop the aging process and make myself much healthier physically and live physically, to not ever get healthier as time goes on. I believed it was all about exercise and nutrition and maybe sleep, and I still believed in that so much, and when I was 19, I was thinking about doing a course on nutrition. I believed in myself that I could reverse the aging process, and then it was 2003, in 2005, Britney Spears did this song called Do Something, and I really liked that. I just wanted to say that. And then 2006, I went to a wedding, my aunt's wedding, and I met this girl called Hannah, I think. And she was about the same age, and I slept with her, and I was giving her a head massage in bed, and I suddenly saw what I thought was her house, and you're coming through the front door and the steps are in front of you on the right, and then the first room on the left is the kitchen, and then the kitchen's got a table in it with the sink on the right, and behind the table on the left is the window, and then I saw her sitting at the table, and she was watching her boyfriend do something with his back turned, doing something with his hands, with his back turned. And I told her all this. I told her all these things I saw, and she said I was correct about every single thing, and she said the thing that he'd be doing with his hands was he'd always be doing the washing up, and she used to watch him doing the washing up. And that was amazing. I could see what she'd seen, sort of thing. It's crazy. It wasn't just what I could see what she'd seen. I could walk around her house and see how it was. And she thought it was amazing, like, how'd you do that? And I also said about one of her friends. I said one of her friends is like, she always sits on the armchair or something. She always looks down at the floor, and she's got brown hair. And she said, yes, she does have a friend who, maybe she already said she had a friend, but she didn't say the part about her looking at the floor and stuff like that. And I was really accurate. She told me that I can have sex with her if I want in the morning, and said that I didn't have sex. I was too shy to start it. Then in 2007, that was really hard. What happened was I was in this cottage and I'd be cooking for myself and cleaning up after myself and everything normal. And this fat guy, because someone I liked moved out, I had to like choose someone to come and replace him. And I chose this fat guy, and all he did was every morning he'd wake up and puke up in this bucket, because he was allergic to this medication they gave him for his brain. And someone's like talking in the corridor and it's doing my head in. I lose concentration and it's really hard to think what I was talking. It's not really hard, it's just hard. I'm going to tell you this, like, 2007, he'd always, like, he wouldn't cook for himself, and every time he made tea, he'd always leave loads of spilt tea and tea bags on the worktop, and I'd always, like, clean up after him. And he was, like, 30 years old, and I was, like, 22 years old, and he was, like, a baby or something. Like, he'd talk and say he wants his own flat, and I said, well, you have to show that you're independent to get your own flat and do your own cooking. And he just didn't do that. And I wanted to help him and everything, and I got him to cook some bacon, and seemed like he was making some progress, but I started to get worse, like in The Shining with Jack, Johnny, whatever his name was, the red rum and murder back to front. And I was starting to go crazy because he was so lazy, and it made me think, like, he's just laying in his bed all day and I'm here living, and it's really claustrophobic. Like, it made me feel so claustrophobic that I knew he was just in his room doing nothing and all day. And he'd come down and make a mess and go back up, and this was doing my head in. And I thought, right, I have to keep it together. I don't want to lose the plot, because I felt like I was so much saner than a few years before. And it was 2006 and 2000, and I was thinking, right, just tried to keep your head together, but I couldn't. Everything just went fucked up, and I became like him, and I was playing computer games and sitting down all day playing computer games, and I was feeling like, this is sick. And I said about it. I told Helen Morell about it, and she's the proprietor, and she said maybe you could live in a bedsit in the main house, and has its own kitchen. Well, not its own kitchen, but it's just one room with everything you need in it apart from a toilet, and had to share some public toilet thing. And I said, alright, I'll just move, because the guy I chose to move in with me then fucked my head up so much that I had to leave. Anyway, I left and I went to this bedsit, and it was so noisy in this main house. It's Millhouse PE32 1PQ. And every morning I'd hear people talking to themselves in the corridor and coughing and really unhealthy. Loads of people smoking all day and all night, watching TV, just doing nothing, just pissing around. And this was so depressing. And it was even worse than it was in the cottage with that guy. It became even worse, and my OCD started getting, my obsessive compulsive thoughts were, I was getting more rigid in thinking, and it was so hard. It was, when summer came, or spring, I bought a tent so I could sleep in the garden, but then I started sleeping in the garden, and all these birds tweeting in the morning, it started to do my head in. It would be really early in the morning, I started hearing all these birds tweeting. Felt like I'm going insane, like every time I hear a bird make a noise, I'm like, what does that mean? I'd base my decisions off the birds whistling. So, if I was thinking I should get out of bed now, I'd be like, I hear the bird tweeting twice, then I get out of bed, or I was building a system to understand what the birds meant. I was going insane, and then I had this, I refused to use the toilets indoors because I had a phobia using people's toilets that other people used. In the cottage, we just shared it between two of us. But in the main house, so I didn't like the state of the toilets either, and I had a phobia of toilets. And I'd had a phobia of toilets since I was 5, ages ago, about 1989. They did some kind of toilet thing in the tent but it was weird. They told me I could I was throwing shit over a fence. Then they said I could empty the shit into a drain at the front, and I think I just kept throwing the shit over the fence, and once some landed on the grass and I just left it because my my obsessive compulsive thinking was so strong that even though I knew I left a bit of shit on the grass, I just thought, no, I can't pick that, I can't move that, it has to stay there. And then this girl who lived in this place found my shit and then said about it to everyone, and I just felt pretty helpless, like I couldn't clean up after myself because something it was the danger. And after about 2 months or a month in the tent, I smashed they told me not to touch this shower that didn't work in my room, and I totally dismantled the whole awning thing, the whole cabinet, the whole wooden structure. I dismantled it all when they told me not to. After they'd told me not to, I just did it because fuck this. I don't like it. I like minimalism. I liked open space. So I didn't see the point in this shower that didn't work. So I got rid of it. I was smashing it up, and so they had to step in and do work like plastering. They had to put a new plaster in and take the shower out completely. And then one day I was angry and I was finding it really hard to keep my room clean. Like, I'd always cook in there, and they cleaned it for me. They'd clean it for me because I said I couldn't do it. It's too hard for me. I can't because of all the thoughts going through my mind of danger. Like, I had to get out of there, and I was so messed up, and it'd take me like 10 hours to eat one meal or 15 hours to eat one meal. Once I stood on the same spot for 17 hours because I was waiting for a car, and the car had to have a number plate with about 5 actual letters or numbers. It had to have all those 5 numbers and letters, otherwise that wasn't the car. And like after I'd been standing on the spot for 17 hours, I finally saw this car, and it matched everything I was waiting for. And I felt like it was a matter of life, and I was fucking mental. And one day, after I'd finished the plastering, I picked up a hammer, I think, and I just smashed the plastering, the new plasterboard. I put a hole in it, and I smashed my guitar. That's it. I smashed my guitar against the wall, and it made a massive hole in the wall or something, and then I smashed my window. Then I threw a rock in the road, like a rock about quite a big rock in the. It was like outside my room was a road, but there was a crossroads right outside my room, and all the traffic was really disturbing. And I'd always feel like I had to look at the number plates to check what's going on, and I'd think to myself, I'd base my decisions off cars, and I'd always try and predict the next colour of car that was coming. It was like if there was 2 red cars, then that'd mean I could start eating 2 red cars in a row. I had to wait for 2 red cars in a row to start cooking my meal. Something like that. It was just so mental, and I was working from 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Kings, and we were trying to renovate a shop, and I had to pull all these nails out or unscrew these screws out of the wall. And I had to lift the nails out with a hammer, claw hammer, and I had to get rid of all these nails, or screws I think they were mostly, and I'd get one screw out and then I'd screw it back in again because it's not funny. I'd screw it back in again because I felt uncomfortable. There's a danger, and it's really, have to be really careful. And one day the guy who was sort of employing me said, maybe you shouldn't come, because... And I was like, yeah, I can't, this is fucking hard. And they put me in hospital again another time. And they put me in hospital after I put the rock in the road, probably. I remember it was the 3rd of July 2007, and in June 2007, I went on the internet and I needed my own space. Living with all these mental people was making me fucking mental. It's like I'm catching their mental distresses. And it's so fucking shit living there. There's just so much going on, no rest. And I'd play really loud music, and then I'd shout. I'd open my room door and shout abusive language at someone who didn't know I was talking to them. I wouldn't mention names. I'd just say something I'd say some kind of offensive words to someone, but they wouldn't know I was talking to them because I didn't want them to know I was talking to them. I just felt like saying it. I was really angry for months. They put me in hospital, and it was... Yeah, in June, I wanted to live on my own because they'd never given me my own place before, and it's all this shit. The people are doing my head in. I need my own... Sorry. I'm repeating things that I keep saying. That just goes to show how much of a struggle. Sorry about saying that as well. Sorry about this whole video. It's this is gonna be one of the longest videos. This is gonna be more than 2 hours and 43 minutes long. So, I'm gonna tell you this bit. I was looking for somewhere to live because I couldn't deal with living there, and I knew, I thought they're definitely not going to give me my own flat because I've never lived on my own. They're not just going to let me get my own flat because what I'm showing is extreme anger and I keep smashing things up, so they're not just going to give me my own flat. And then I found this place that showed that it is your own place, but there's a warden working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, but you get your own space, and it's supported by mental health people who come in every week or something, check how you're doing and all that. And I thought, right, that's the perfect place. That's where I want to move to. And it wasn't just that. There was this girlfriend I had. Amongst all that crazy time, I had a girlfriend. Fuck knows how I had a girlfriend at that time. Because I couldn't think properly. And, get on to the next. So... Yeah, because she was important to me, I wanted to move into the same city she lived in because I wanted to be really close to her because she's so important to me, even though I think she'd dumped me, and I still wanted to move there because I wanted to make up with her. Anyway, so I wanted to move to Norwich because of her, and then found this place on the internet on the 14th of June 2007. I remember that exact. It was definitely the 14th of June 2007. And I found this flat, and it's called Sorrel House, and I just thought that's the place because it's not completely on my own, which I think is like beyond what they're gonna do for me, but it's like nearly total independence. And I said I want to move there, and on the 3rd of July 2000, that was 3rd of July 2007, I woke up and there was people at my window, and they were like barricading the window so I couldn't climb out my window, and there was loads of police and security around, and I'd just had a terrifying night. That was terrifying. There was so much danger, and I thought, shit, I was so scared, and there was this number plate I had in my head that I wanted to see. This A number plate with like starting with A and with a 03 in it or something like that. And I thought I have to see that. I have to see a car like that. Otherwise, I had to see it that day. Otherwise, it's so dangerous. And then they were talking about me in the office, and I walked in the car park, and then I found the car, and it was Corey Avery's car, and it was a Ford Focus or something, and it was silver, and it had the exact numbers and letters on the number plate that I was looking for. So it's like her car saved me. And then they put me in the back of an ambulance, and they escorted me to hospital with police cars behind me and in front or something. And then I was really scared, and I came into the hospital. I remember Jamie Kingshaw. I remember this guy who was 23 years old and I was like 22 or something. And he saw I had really intense, obsessive compulsive things. Like I'd touch the doors and like kick the walls as I was going past and tap things. Because it was like, I had to. There's such a important, otherwise it was so important to do everything I was doing. And eating was so hard. It'd take me hours to eat one meal. And in the hospital I got this girl called Katie, I think, and I asked if she could like feed me with a spoon, because it was easier than if I got the food, I'd be looking at all the little bits of like rice. If I was eating rice, I'd be looking at all the little bits of rice and thinking, I can't have that bit, I can't have that bit. And I'd be taking things off my spoon and thinking, it was just so hard to get a mouthful because there was so much danger. It was just so scary to do that. And then Katie started doing it for me, like to put a spoon in my mouth and I'd eat it. It still took ages to eat a meal. And in September, in September 2007, they gave me a choice to live on the streets or to go to a different care home. And I wanted to be homeless. I kept saying, I want my tent and I want to be homeless. But they kept discouraging me to be homeless. And eventually I gave in to them and said, all right, put me in care home, but I want my tent out of storage soon. I want to go and live in my tent. I don't want to live there. I went there, and it was in Yarmouth. I hate Yarmouth because Yarmouth reminds me of homosexuals. And I went to Yarmouth and I don't even like saying Yarmouth. It sounds gay, like your mouth. Like, I'm not giving you my mouth. Like, get the fucking cocks away from, get your dick away from my mouth. Like, that's why I think so many people are gay in Yarmouth, because they keep saying, your mouth, and I'm like, no, go away. Right, so you know how I think now. Anyway, I was there, and it was like, there were so many, even the people who worked there, even this person who worked there, he was a gambler, and he kept talking about gambling. He kept talking about how he'd play roulette, and that sparked an interest in me. And I had the internet in my room on my own laptop. It was a Wi-Fi connection, and I started gambling. They hadn't given me my tent yet. I had to wait like a few days or weeks for my tent. And I had my own kettle. I had my own cooker, like a hob. I had my own hob, 2 hobs, electric, portable. And I'd do some kind of cooking in my room, but I didn't like using the kitchen they had, but I had to use the kitchen they had for a few things before I could buy my own hob and stuff, but then I'd cook in my room. But anyway, I got into gambling, and then even when I was 12 years old in 1996, I thought to myself, I'd be good at gambling. Like, I could make a living off gambling, and like on sporting events, I just feel like I know what's going to happen, and then I can make loads of money on it. And I had that in mind since I was 12 years old. It wasn't at the thought, it wasn't like I was thinking about it all day. It was just, I thought about it in bed lots and thought, yeah, maybe I can do that. And shit. And so in 2007, it all came true that I was gambling. And I met a friend in 2007, on the 3rd of July 2007, and she was a nice person. I got close to her and we were friends, like best friends. She had a boyfriend and I was her friend, even though I was like sexually interested and I did sexual things with her, but not too much, not extremely. She was born on 28th of the 4th, 1985. Anyway. No, I have to carry on this. So, I was there and I talked to her on the phone sometimes, like on a mobile phone. Like, I'd never had a mobile phone before 2007. That's the first time I ever had one. Well, I mean, in 1998 or something, I had a phone, but I only used it like once. And I didn't call anyone on it. Someone called me, or maybe I called a few people on it, but I only had it for like a few months and never had a mobile phone again until 2007. So, and my number was 07903 776470. And I talked to her, and when I'd be lying in bed, I could hear people smoking. They'd smoke outside my window, and they'd all talk to each other outside my window, and they were all mental, like they were all mentally ill, or so I thought. And they'd talk about how they're gonna die, and that whenever that's a really that's such a sensitive subject. When someone says like they're gonna die, I'm thinking, fuck off, like stop it, because I don't want. So I don't want to die. And then when people talk about it like they're gonna have it, I just think, fuck off, speak for yourself, you little cunt. And I don't want people talking about death. What's the point? It's just sick subject. And that's how I felt like then. And I'd be like, in my head, I'd be like, I have not succumbed to this. I will not succumb to this. Fuck off. Fuck you. Fuck this. And that they like one mention of death by anyone in one day would spoil my whole day, and it would make me have to think over and over, like all these affirmations and all this, like that doesn't mean anything. Like I've got over this thought pattern now, and because my main thing about living was I don't want to die, and I'd do anything to save myself, and to save me from dying. And I believed I could reverse the aging process. And I just thought like everything was about survive. It was I wasn't weak-minded. I was so strong in the mind that I never give in. Like, don't give in. And when people would say everyone's going to die eventually, I'd be like, oh! Say, fuck off, I have not succumbed to this. I will not succumb to this. Fuck you. Fuck off. Die, fucking cunt. And I was quite sensitive. Anyway, I got my tent, so I didn't have to hear those people outside my window. I didn't have to hear their fucking mutterings all day and their fucking pessimism all day and all night. So I went in the tent. I got my bike. I think I stole the bike by climbing over this really tall fence, taking the bike, and I took 2 bikes, put them in the bus, and I gave a bike to this girl I met in hospital, and I gave another bike to this girl's mother in hospital, and I wasn't found out about it. So I went to King's Lynn from that horrible place, and Barfield Terrace, Appleton Road. I went to Yarmouth. I went back to the care home where I used to live on July the 3rd, 2007, and I went in there and they were like friendly, but they couldn't cook for me or anything. I had my own food. I'd eat this unleavened bread that I'd cook in the oven, this portable oven. It had 2 hobs on the top of the oven. I'd cook the bread. It was quite tough bread, and I'd dip the bread into like soya oil. It was soya oil, and I didn't understand why soya wasn't good at that time. And tahini. I'd dip the bread in that and eat it, and it'd have so much calories. It'd be so dense in calories that that'd sustain me for a long time. And it was like one of those camping pots, so I wouldn't have to spill the oil. I stayed in a tent. It was like December, and I'd wake up and I'd see there'd be snow on my sleeping bag because I left the tent door open and got loads of snow on my sleeping bag. And then when I'd get out of the tent, I'd grab my bottle of water and it'd just be ice. It'd be really hard to get any water out of it. I'd have to wait till the afternoon for it to liquefy. But at that time, there was an organic farm I used to work at before all this mental illness shit, when I used to live in the cottage, before that fat guy lived in the cottage, and I was fine then. I was mentally healthier than I had been probably ever. And I used to work in this organic vegetable farm, not handling animals. I wouldn't have liked that at all. I was vegetarian, and I was vegan. So I worked there, and they were paying me like 20 quid a week. It wasn't official or anything, so they paid me 20 quid a day, actually, yeah. And I rang them up when I was in my tent, and I asked them if I could come there to work just for free or anything, because I wanted to be busy. I didn't want to just stay in my tent all day. That would have been weird. So I biked like 5 miles to get there every morning on this bike that I'd somehow had. I can't remember where I got the bike from. Maybe it was mine, actually, but I'd bike to this other village where the farm was, and I'd work like 9 to 5 or something, and then I'd come back to my tent, and we had to dig vegetables, and I felt quite good about being that independent and not being stuck back at that care home. I wanted to. Being homeless was better than being in that care home. And then in December 2007, around Christmas Eve, I came back that day to Yarmouth. I had really long nails because I didn't have any nail scissors, and I asked them to cut my nail. Well, I wanted to cut my nails, but they said they have to do it for me or something. I think so, and that was very weird. Or maybe they did. Maybe I did it on my own, but I had to get some nail scissors because I didn't have any. And they gave me some Christmas cards, and one of the cards was from this girl called Sam. And I'd only really talked to her once or something. She was living at Oliver Court, which is next door to this care home. And it was still part of this care home, but they had their own flats. And they had their own flats with their own kitchen, their own toilet, and their own bedroom. That meant something to me, that I got a Christmas card from her, and she said in the card I can come round to her flat whenever I want or something. And then, so on the 24th of December, came up to her flat, knocked on the door, and oh yeah, that's it. That's how it all happened. I remember exactly now. Like, I had really long nails, and I thought maybe I could knock on her door and ask if she's got any nail scissors. Then I've got an excuse that I've got to say why I come up to her room, to her flat. And then she answered, and her sister was there. Her sister's called Kate, I think. And she was they asked me to come in, and they gave me some nail scissors and cut it, and then they wanted me to drink some alcohol, and I didn't want that because I hated alcohol. I never drunk since I was 19. I only had a tiny bit, and then I hadn't had any when I was 18. When I was 17 was the last time I got tipsy, and when I was 19 I had some Guinness, but I didn't, and maybe I felt a tiny effect of it. I hated alcohol because it's so unhealthy, and I wanted to be healthy, and they were asking me to drink this vodka or something, and for ages I was saying no, but they kept saying yes. So I drank a tiny bit, and they asked me I can come. They said I can come back tomorrow. They wanted me to stay the night, but then someone who was staff, someone who was working in that care home, came up and said I have to come back to this next door house and sleep there, and that was a bit annoying, and I said I'd come back tomorrow. Then I came back on the 25th of December. I was knocking on their door, I think, but there was no answer. So I went back, then a few hours later I knocked again, and they opened it, and I asked where they were before, and they said they just didn't hear it or something. I can't remember. But yeah, it was Christmas Day, and they invited me to be there, and I'd cooked my own roast potatoes in my own mini oven. And I think I brought them round. I spent Christmas there, and it was the best Christmas I'd ever had, because they were such nice people, and I hardly ever had friends. And we went out on Christmas Day for a walk, and we went into this Portuguese shop or something that was open, or bar, and they wanted more vodka and orange juice, and we got that, and yeah, we went there to get more orange juice to mix with the vodka, and I had a glass, but I was drinking quite slowly. And then I stayed there on Boxing Day as well, I think. It was really nice to be in their company. Such nice people, and there's this girl called AJ who lived in who lived in a different flat, and we went in hers once, I think, and she was funny. She was always telling jokes, and yeah, that was the best Christmas I've had. On the 27th of December, Kate, her sister, had to move back to Bury St Edmunds or something, because she was only staying there for Christmas. And what happened? Well, on the 23rd of December or something, I got a call on 07903 776 I got a call from my social worker. She was the person who bought me the mobile phone, so that when I was homeless, when I was living in the countryside, she could call me, and it was such amazing technology. But I had to make my battery last, so I'd turn my phone off at night and stuff, so the battery would last longer. And it wasn't like today. Like, we had Nokia phones, and they could last for like weeks or something, like a couple of weeks. And but I kept turning my phone off at night to save stuff. And she called me, I think it was maybe the 24th of December or something. That's what I think. Yeah, and anyway, I had to, they said I can, they asked me if I was bothered if it was a 1-bedroom place or a bedsit. I said I didn't mind, I just wanted to move in as quick as possible. And yeah, it was so important for me to move before the end of 2007. In July 2007, I'd been thinking to myself, I have to be in a new address before 2007 ends, otherwise that's just too, it means death. It means it's a matter of life and death. It's a matter of fucking so important to me. And on the 27th of December, I think, got a call that, maybe I didn't get a call, I just knew from the 24th that I was moving in on the 27th or something. And nah, maybe it was, I just got a call. But Kate left, and it was quite sad saying goodbye to her. And then a few hours I had to leave, and Sam was feeling really like alone, like she had so much company between me, AJ and Kate for the 3 days, like for the 25th and 26th of December. And we watched the Queen's speech on Christmas Day as well. That was so good. And on the 27th of December, I had to go to Norwich to move into this new bedsit, and Joyce Troy gave me a lift. Joyce Westwood gave me a lift. She drove me there. And I got my keys, and I moved in, and I got a key fob, and Sam had asked me to come back at New Year's Eve. She asked me to come back for New Year's Eve. And I said I would. And so on the 27th of December 2007, before 2000 ended, I was in this new place, and that was so close. That was 3 days. I had 3 days left or something. I'd found this place on June the 14th, 2007, and I was moving in on the 27th December 2007, and straight away I had this paint. I think I had orange and blue and yellow paint or something, and I started painting straight away as soon as I got there. I was painting all day and night, and I had this worm infection, but I don't want to say much more about that. But anyway, it was quite amazing to have my own flat. And on the 31st of December, I had to catch a bus back to Yarmouth to meet her. And what happened was, I missed the bus stop. I don't know what I was doing. Maybe I fell asleep on a bus or something. We went past Yarmouth. We went to Lowestoft. And then at Lowestoft, I had to get off the bus because that bus wasn't going back or something. And I waited like half an hour at the bus stop in Lowestoft. And that delayed me coming to Yarmouth so much. And Sam kept ringing. She kept asking where I was and what's going on. And yeah, it was really That was a bit of a really bad thing to happen. And like 10:30 at night, I finally got to Yarmouth, and I finally got to Oliver Court, and we went round AJ's flat, and they were drinking vodka with orange juice or something, and they asked me to drink, and I did drink a bit, and they asked me to drink faster because I was drinking really slowly, so I didn't get drunk. But they started telling me to drink it fast, and I started feeling drunk. And then me and Sam were kissing in front of AJ. It was like a really sexual kiss. It was like, remind me of a porn film or something. Like, it was that kind of kissing, like fucking crazy. And I felt like really horny, and I was really drunk. And then Sam asked us to go up to her flat. So we went in her flat, and we were just kissing for like half an hour or more. Like, we didn't stop kissing for like half an hour or more, and it was the same kiss. And then we heard some fireworks, and we thought, what's that? What's going on? And we realised that it was the New Year's Eve, and I didn't know. When I first heard the fireworks, I thought, what's that? What's going on? We were so much into kissing, I'd forgotten it was New Year's Eve. And I really liked that. And then at some time, maybe it was 1 o'clock in the morning or something, she asked us to go to bed, her bed, and there's a double bed, and earlier in the day, or when I was round there for Christmas, there was one day when Samantha had her legs open. She was sitting on the floor in front of me when I was on a chair, and I just thought to myself, like, I'd really want to fuck her. And it was New Year's Day it was like the 1st of January 2008, and I was laying in bed with her, and she asked me to get inside or whatever. And I hadn't had sex with this body before, and we kissed in bed, and she was like, come inside or something, and so I did. Like, before, with my girlfriend I had in Norwich, I was like, she'd asked me to have sex with her, but because my OCD was because my obsessive compulsive thinking was so strong, I just felt like danger, like I can't have sex with her, not because I didn't want to, I wanted to, but then there was all these things going on in my mind that I just know it's too dangerous, I can't, not now. And sometimes I'd start doing something with her, like fingering her, and then I'd think that I can have sex now, but then I'd be getting close to doing that, and then something stopped me and said, no, I can't do that. Anyway, so it was the 8th of January, I was having sex, and then when I started having sex, I felt like I'd done this like thousands of times before, and I just felt like it was nothing new, like I just hadn't done it for a few years. That's what it felt like. To me, it felt like, oh yeah, I remember this, like I've done this thousands of times, and she really liked it, and I think she had orgasms, and I just felt like I've done this before. Like, it's nothing special. Like, I was really protective of my virginity, even though for a man, like, virginity doesn't even mean anything, really. It's just a girl, virginity means something. Like, virginity for a man isn't real, really, because there's nothing new going on, really. Apart from, like, the sensation that you haven't felt for a long time, or just, yeah, it really felt to me like, I know this, I've done this thousands of times. Like, it's just an overwhelming feeling that I've done this before. And, yeah, she didn't even suspect that I was a virgin or anything. She was happy with it, and, it was good. Like, I really enjoyed it, and, I thought it's great. So then, on the 3rd of January, I've been at a house for quite long, and it was sometimes boring. She had to go out once, and I had to stay in her flat on my own, and I felt really lonely, and I was playing garage music, and I didn't like being on my own. It was weird. On the 3rd of January, I went back to my flat, and she kept calling me, and when she walked me to the bus stop to say goodbye, and she kissed me goodbye, and I felt like she's my girlfriend. And I asked her maybe she can come to mine next time, and she said yeah. Then she kept calling me and stuff and asking me if I'd come to hers. And I said, no, you said you're going to come to mine. And then that went on for like 3-4 weeks or something, or even a few months. She kept asking me, like, if I want to come round. I said, no, you come here. I never saw her again. The 3rd of January, it was the last time I saw her face to face, but we talked on the phone loads. She moved to Brighton in early in the new year. She moved to Brighton in 2008 to live with her children. She was 33 and I was 23. Well, no, she was 31, I was 23, so she's 7 years older than me. And I wanted to be with her, like a proper relationship. I was so stubborn when I was saying, I'm not going there. Like, she said she's coming to mine, so that's it. I'm not going to come to hers. And she'd be calling me up at night, sometimes feeling horny and saying, please come over. And I'd be like, no, you said come in here. And she, I don't know what it was, but she definitely wasn't coming to mine. So I didn't see her again. And then in May 2008, or May or April, this other girlfriend I used to have, who I never had sex with, she came. I'd got on the phone to her somehow, and or I'd been around her house or something. She came to mine too. She'd also lived in the same house before. She'd lived in this block of. She'd also lived in the exact place I was living in before, and she knew where it was and everything. And she came round, and we were gonna sleep together, but then we were in bed together. Then she said, "Oh no, I forgot my medication or something," and she needed a medication, so she went home really early, and then a few days later I had an argument with her on the phone, and she said we're not friends anymore. That had me distraught. And then this other girl who I met in hospital on the 3rd of July, she came back to this country. She'd been in Lithuania over New Year. She was coming back in February or something, but she was going to King's Lynn and I was living in Norwich. And we started talking on the phone so much together. And I started visiting her in Kings Lynn every weekend. She'd be working on a potato field or something, and I'd come to hers at the weekend and we'd sleep together, even though she had a boyfriend. The boyfriend was in a hospital and we were free, and I'd sleep with her, but I was the one encouraging her to have sex, because I was really into sex then, since I'd been introduced to it. I just thought, yeah, sex is great. The weekend she'd come to mine every other weekend, so that was fair. Like, I'd go to hers one weekend and then she'd come to mine the next weekend, and I was starting to want her as a girlfriend, even though she had a boyfriend, and I kept encouraging her to dump her boyfriend who was still in hospital. And one day she did. Then something split us up again. I felt guilty to the other boyfriend, and I felt like he should have a second chance. And later she came back to she did get a second chance with him, but then he wasn't so interested in her as I was. But all these things happened, and in 2009 she'd gone back to Lithuania, but we'd talk on the phone every day. And in May 2009 we had an arrangement. Well, I married her on the telephone. I didn't want to get married in church because I hate all the tradition, all the repeating after someone else. It's my business, it's no one else's business. So I said, can we marry on the phone? And we did. I was the only one who took it seriously, though. She didn't say she didn't take it seriously. She said she did take it seriously, but she didn't. And to me, it was the same as marriage. Like, it was all the vows. I completely meant everything I said. And she came to live with me in 2009 in May. And it was alright for 2 weeks. It was quite blissful. But then after about 2 weeks, I started being really, authoritative. And I'd say, you can't do this, and you can't do that. And you have to do this. And I wouldn't let her live like how she wanted. I'd say she'd have to live how I wanted her to live. And we started arguing a lot. There was lots of arguments and there was lots of shouting. As soon as we started shouting, that's how it was from then on. We just shout at each other every single day and have sex about twice a day, but get in arguments nearly all day. And then every week, once a week, she'd be shouting, and then I'd physically push her or something, and she'd push me back, and then I'd hit her and she'd hit me back, and we had a physical fight nearly every single week. And she started going out of the flat on her own and going into other people's flats in the same building. She'd find friends by knocking on people's doors or talking to them in the corridor or something, and I didn't do that because they all smoked weed. There was so many drug users in that flat, in that block of flats, and I hated drugs. I just wanted to be really healthy. And yeah. And I couldn't tolerate going into people's flats where they were smoking. I'd have to get out the room if they were smoking. Like, I don't want to breathe that. On that shit. She became really close to some of her friends who she'd met in this building. And I didn't want to be associated with this building at all because there's so many drug users. I just wanted to move out of there into my own proper flat where I had my own front door outside instead of my front door being inside. She just kept hanging around with them and spending less and less time with me. And then it was just like... So I was depressed and I couldn't stop this hitting. I couldn't stop hitting her. But she'd hit me back and we'd make it like an even fight. I'd try and make it an even fight because I could have easily beat her in a fight, but I felt like I have to make it equal because otherwise it's not right. But I couldn't resist the urge to fight her, start fighting with her every 2 weeks and... No, every week. Once a week it was like. And I thought to myself in November, October 2009, I kind of knew deep down, like I knew I'd be able to stop fighting her in March 2010. That's like, it was like an addiction and I knew I'd be able to give it up in March 2010. I just know it. And I told her that. She didn't really think about it. And on February the 1st, 2010, she ran out of my flat and I was trying to race after her. I was trying to bite her because of the obsessive compulsive thing. Like, I felt I had to bite her on the arm or something. Otherwise, it's dangerous. And I think I'd bitten her and I didn't feel satisfied and I had to just bite her once more, but I never got close to her. Then I went back to my flat on my own since she got away from me. And I was laying in bed or laying on a mattress, laying on the floor, laying in bed and in the mattress on the floor, and the police came in and then they put me in a cell, and on that cell, on the ceiling, it said like, don't come back here again or something. It said something like that, and I was thinking, yeah, right, I'm not gonna fight her anymore. Like, I've given it up now. Like, she's so important to me that I can stop this addiction now. Like, and then in the morning they opened the door and they said I could go home, and they said she's moved out. For her, I said she'll move back in. Like, the police said, do I really think she's going to come back to me? And I said, yeah. And they were surprised by me thinking that. And I came back to the flat and all her stuff was gone. And she'd moved into a few flats away. She'd moved into a woman's house, a woman's flat. And she was living with her now. And I walked up some stairs around the corridors and I saw her face to face, and she was scared and she was shocked how I was out of the police cell so soon. And I tried to apologise to her and she was trying to get away from me. And like, the months and weeks went on and I just kept wanting to be with her and saying, please just give me a second chance. Every time I saw her, I'd be like, please. But even one time in March, like the end of March, Joyce Westwood had come round and Indra was in my flat, and she was saying something, and I didn't agree with what she was saying or something. And then I was like nipping her arm or something, or I did something to her to cause her pain, and she was like, she noticed that, and she was like, fuck off. And then I felt like I wasn't learning from my lessons, and I was still really immature. When I was 16 in the year 2000, I thought I'd never hit a woman, but it just happened so that I'd started doing that. Couldn't control it. She was really argumentative, and when I went with her to Lithuania, her mum and dad were always having fights, and like loads of shouting, and then a little bit of physical something, and I thought they were really bad, but if I'd have seen myself on camera with her, like, we were doing the same thing. And I felt like it was mostly her influence that was getting me so angry. Like, she's so disrespectful, it seemed like. It seemed like it was mostly from her that she was such an argumentative person that it wasn't like all my fault. That I'd never been violent with any other woman in my life, and I'd been with quite a few women, and I'd never got into those kind of arguments. And then she moved from that woman's flat she moved into a man's flat where there was like two friends, and they'd always smoke weed every day and stuff like that. And she started living with them, and I think she'd have sex with both of them or something. She really liked sex, and after about 2 or 3 months, she moved out of that flat one day because they hated me because I'd been violent to her. And then one of those men had started being violent to her as well, because she was just so annoying. She was just so hard to get on with that they hated me because I'd been violent with her. But then one of them, they started being violent with her as well. Like, they were no better than me. Like I felt more righteous than them. They were like drug addicts, and I hated all that. And they spend all their money on weed and just enough food to last. And anyway, she moved out of there, and that was a big deal because she moved out of this whole building. She moved like a few neighbourhoods away, and I wouldn't see her very often. But when I did see her, I was so like, I'd always be saying sorry for everything that happened, and can we please get back together and stuff like that. And she didn't, and I started doing witchcraft on her because I wanted her back with me, and I was like, I totally made up my mind that I wanted to be with her, and I started doing witchcraft from my own knowledge. I hadn't read anything about witchcraft. I just knew I'd done it before, and Well, I just knew it. Like, I just believed in the power of the mind. Like, and she was really angry at me every time she'd come round. So angry, and I did the spell where I say, whenever she expresses her anger at other people, her anger will be come back at her like sharp as arrows. And it was like an image of someone with a bow and arrow, like, or arrows, and as soon as she expressed her anger, it would come back to her like a mirror. That's what the spell was trying to do. I was trying to do with this spell, and a couple of weeks later, I felt like this is going to work. And a couple of weeks later, she come back to my flat. She had loads of scratches all over her face and round her eyes. She had loads of scratches, and she said she'd been in a mental hospital for 2 weeks or something, and a heroin addict had tried to gouge her eyes out with her fingernails and scratched her, and she said she was trying to kill her with her by like this fight. And I felt like, well, that's my spell, that's what I've done to her. And I didn't feel very bad about it. I felt like, well, yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. But she still wasn't happy with me. She was still being angry with me. And she went away again. I was doing witchcraft on her every day, just trying to get her back to me. And I'd devote the whole day to witchcraft every single day. I'd be so deep in, like, I command this to happen. So another time, I hadn't seen her for like 2 months, and every day I'd be thinking about her I'd be thinking about her all the time that I was awake nearly, apart from maybe a few minutes or something. I'd have my mind focused on her all day and all night, and I was really heartbroken and just wanted another chance, because I felt like I could do it next time. I wouldn't fight. One day, 2010, I started doing these spells that were like... Now what happened? Oh yeah. Yeah, I was just really missing her, and it'd been 2 months, and I started doing all these spells, like so many spells, like one every second, or loads, like 50 a minute, like one every few seconds. I was doing another spell, a different spell, and another spell, and all these spells were like about the urge for her to come back to my flat and like touch objects and the stupid things, like I was trying to put in her this urge to touch my door handle and touch door handles in my flat, and like stuff like to be nice as well. I was trying to make her to stop being angry at me, just be nice, and these spells were coming out of me so fast, and this was like the most intense thinking I'd ever done in my life. My brain, I could feel my brain. I could actually feel my brain, and I could feel my thoughts in my brain. I was putting so much hard work into it. Really, really intense, fast, hard work. And he was like, I was thinking of new spells every few seconds and blah, 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 blah. And I was doing that for 50 whole minutes. Did that for 50 minutes. So then I thought, right, it's going to be successful now. Because I just got that confirmation in my brain, it's going to work. It's successful. I don't have to do it anymore. And she'll be back within 3 days. And I called my mum and said, Indra's coming back in 3 days. Then had my mental health workers come to see me the next day. And I said, Indra's coming back in 3 days or less. And they said, how do I know that? And I said, I just know. And but then that next day, or after those 50 minutes, after I knew it was going to be successful, I had these thoughts like, I had these doubts in my mind that is what I was doing, like, there was this ebook about witchcraft, and I was thinking to buy this ebook, then I'd be even better at doing this witchcraft. And I was reading the testimonies about this book. It's called Rose and Adriana or something. Adrian. And I read this one testimony, and it said, in some city, someone done a money spell, and then in one day, they found 3 $20 bills on the pavement, on the sidewalk or something. 3 $20 bills in one day they found on the sidewalks. And I just thought, that's crazy. And then thought, I don't even like that. Like, someone had to lose that money for them to find it. And that just seemed totally unethical. And all I was trying to do was make things better for everyone. Like, I loved her so much that I just... Like, I had so many promises for her to... It would be so much better than it used to be, like... I felt like my spells were like... They were what's best for her, and then I read about this money spell thing, getting $20 bill, and I thought... I ain't even like... This is wrong. And then I looked up... In the internet, on my laptop, I typed in, like, what does the Bible say about witchcraft? And I got this website called Acts 17:11 or something, Acts 11:17 or something. And this website seemed really good, and I found this page on witchcraft, all the mentions of witchcraft in the Bible. There were so many mentions of it, and they're basically saying it's not good, and they were basically saying it's just wrong to do that kind of thing. And I was seeing the logic, and I was understanding, yeah, this isn't good, so I stopped doing witchcraft straight away, and I was reading this thing, how you do, like, miracles then, and it says you just, like, give the attention to something of love, just give something the intention to love it, and then things happen, and, you know, magical things can happen, and I didn't really believe in God, but I believed that there's maybe something, and I was trying to be at really peace with everything. Like, every time I'd get angry thoughts about having sex with other men while I wanted to be with her, and feeling all this jealousy and hatred, I'd try to, whenever those thoughts had entered my mind, in those 3 days, like, after that day that I'd done really intense witchcraft, I started thinking, like, every time I felt angry with her, I'd try to forgive her in my mind, and I'd try to say, it's alright, actually, don't worry, and I tried to be really forgiving, and I was just trying to achieve like a really peaceful, really serene state of mind, and I started having baths the next day, and I'd have a warm bath every day, and I'd sit in this bath and just be like, it was something about God. It was like, I thought of God as like something about the universe, like it was all about love and shit, and I'd try to be really gentle with her in my mind. She wasn't around physically. She wasn't in my flat, but when I was thinking of her, I tried to think about her really gently and like it's okay, and I'd be telepathically communicating. I'd get messages from her soul or her spirit or something. I didn't even know anything about spirits or souls. It was just about minds. And it was like, I'd get this thought in my mind. I'd get these thoughts in my mind sometimes during the day, and they'd be telling me what was going on with her, Indra. And I got this message one day that she wants to be homeless again. And I was like granting her all her wishes. Like, I was saying like stuff like, you can be homeless again. I was trying to agree with everything that she was thinking and doing, and be like gentle and encouraging with her, and not. And it was like 2 days later, she came knock on my door, and I opened the door, and she had she was really nice to me, and I wasn't sure if it was the witchcraft that had made her nice to me. Like, I knew she was coming back in 3 days. That wasn't a question. And it was like 2 days later, and she knocked on my door. I hadn't seen her for like 3 months, 2 months. And I just knew she's coming, because I knew I had confirmation that she's coming back in 3 days. Like, it wasn't a surprise to me. It was like, I know she's coming back. And she came back, and she was being really nice to me. Then she said, wait, and she went to some other girl's flat or something. She brought back some cupcakes, and she said she baked them for me. And this was just like, she was being really nice to me. All the times before, she was really angry and really nasty and really angry. And she'd stuck a CD in my throat once until it bled, and I was crying. But this time she was nice. I know she's being so friendly, but then she said she met this guy who's got a dog, and he's called Snake, and he's a homeless guy. And she said she wants to be with him. I was fucking annoyed. But I was trying to be calm, and what I'd learned in the last few days, and I was like, she can be this. It's like, it's alright. And she was talking on the phone to her mum. She only talked to her mum when she came around my house, because I had international free calls. I had this international free call number, and she'd talk to her mum on the phone, and everything seemed like homely again that night. It was really peaceful, sort of thing. Then for the next 2 days, she stayed around mine. We stayed in bed and had loads of sex, but it was like a weird feeling, and She she started getting really scared and emotional, and she was scared to get out of this bed or get off this mattress and everything. We treated this mattress like an island or something, and she didn't really get out of bed for like 3 days, 2 days or something, and it was really weird, this feeling, everything was really weird. And then on the 3rd day, she said she's going to the city and she wants me to come, and she's going to try and find this guy called Snake. He's a homeless guy with a dog, and we went to we caught a bus, and she was saying really crazy things on the bus, and she was like, she was being loud, and it was like embarrassing me in front of everyone else on the bus. And we came to Norwich, and we went through the market, and then she talked to someone I didn't know who she knew, and she met this guy with a dog, and homeless guy. He had a grey beard and grey hair, and his face was like really rough, and he was about 60 or something. And she started sitting with them outside a shop window, like outside a shop, and they were begging on the street, and that seemed a bit weird. And then there was this woman who came past, and then everyone knew each other or something, and we went back to her flat, and the scene just started being nasty again. I like the look of this woman whose flat we came into. She was showing her muscles, and she had quite big muscles, and that turned me on, and I was like sexually addicted to everything. So I was attracted to her, even though she was like 40 or something, and I was 24 or something. Yeah, then this Snake guy and Indra, they were both being hostile and arguing, and Indra and this man were leaving, and then I because they left, I thought I had to leave, and I got my bag to go, and then the woman whose house it was saying, no, stay. Like she fancied me, and I fancied her, but I just felt like I couldn't stay. I wanted to follow Indra and this homeless guy. I went down the stairs with him, but I didn't feel like I was going to follow him, but then I felt like no. And then I just walked home. And then I regretted so much that I didn't stay with this woman who fancied me and I fancied her. Like, could have had sex with her. I don't know. That got on my nerves quite a bit. And it was a few months later, I knocked on her door and she didn't even recognise me. And she was like wary of me, and she wasn't like how she was before. How she was before was like maybe she was high on loads of drugs or something, but this time she was like scared of answering doors, saying who are you and stuff, and it just wasn't an opportunity to do anything, so I went home. But I felt at least I got over this temptation, and at least it came to a resolution. She asked me to come back another day or something. Then Angel came back to my flat a few days later, and she wanted to take some of her stuff, and maybe a couple of months later, or 3 months later, I got a call, and it was Indre's mum in Lithuania, and she was talking to me, asking where Indra is and stuff, and I was saying, I don't know. And then I heard Indre's voice, and she was in Lithuania with her mum, and they were just playing a trick on me, asking where Indra was, and she was in Lithuania all that time, and I talked to Indra, and she asked how I was, and she was being nice to me, and I was saying how grateful I was to be on the phone with her, and I'm glad she's alright. She had to. There was something with the police. The police helped her to get back to Lithuania. She said she'd been in this. You remember I said in July the 3rd or something. Anyway, no, 2007. Yeah, she had the boyfriend at that time in hospital. And she'd said she'd been around this guy's house. He's called Jamie Kingshaw. I always liked him. And I felt guilty about, like, when I broke their relationship. And she said she'd been with him in his flat in King's Lynn. And they were trying to see if their relationship worked. And I was really pleased that he'd been given this chance to be with her, but she said that it got weird, and they were doing loads of drugs, and something about she'd had this thought, and she'd had these really extreme thoughts, and then like something like the curtain just fell down in front of her while they were watching TV. It was like, she was saying there's like stuff like poltergeist stuff going on, and they were really all messed up on drugs, and there was these really weird things happening in the flat, and she was scared, and she said that this Jamie didn't have much sex with her. She didn't really like that, and it was all about drugs, really, that there was so much drugs that everything was just going weird, and she felt scared or something, and yeah, like something like things just happened, like stuff, like the paranormal stuff was happening, and she would go back to Lithuania, and we started talking about our relationship again, and I was saying I could come to Lithuania to see her, and that was 2010. In 2010, I came to see her or something. And I didn't fight with her, but once she hit me in the face, and I just did nothing. And then once I pushed her little brother because her brother was being aggressive or whatever. I pushed him and he fell into a cupboard or something. Or he hurt himself or something, and I said sorry, and she was shouting at me loads, she wasn't very nice at all, and she didn't come out with me to, we didn't go out often, and she'd just be in the flat, and it was claustrophobic. And in like 2011, I'd probably been back home, and then I was coming back to stay with him from February 2011 till about August 2011. And in August 2011, I was saying I've got to go back to my flat because it's been like 3 months and no, like 5. It's been a long time, and 5 months or something, and there's things I've got to deal with. And she was going to come back with me, but then she wanted a dentist appointment, and then she made a dentist appointment, and they couldn't see her until September or something, and it made her so she had to stay behind, and I had to go back to England. I had to go back to my house on my own. I had a new flat by then, and I had to go back home alone, and I started watching YouTube loads, and I'd never used YouTube really ever before. She really liked YouTube, but I thought it was like, it's sad to just watch videos and not do much anything else. It's like, but anyway, I got really hooked on YouTube, and I started listening to loads of Americans, and I didn't like America before, but because I was listening to so many Americans, they made me like them, and I started liking Americans, and I started identifying myself with Americans more than I identified with English people. And then I felt like English people's accents are so gay or something, I don't know. Like, I stopped liking British accents and thought American accents sound better. And I was waiting for this Indra to come back, and she said she's coming back in November. I waited long, February till November, and stayed in my flat from August till November. She said she was coming, and it was about the 4th of November or something, 2011. And I was really scared about a plane. I'm always really scared about travelling on planes, and she was travelling on a... That's really scary. And anyway, what happened was she wanted to stay with another friend as well. The same friend who'd hit her. She'd been in my flat. She moved out of my flat into this girl's flat, and then she moved out of the girl's flat into this man's flat, and that man started hitting her and having physical fights with her. And then she said she wants to go back to his to visit, and I was saying, I don't want that. And I was saying, like, if you want to do that, you can go to his flat first, and then don't bother coming to mine until you want to move in to mine. And so she did that, and she was at this guy's flat. And then one day I said, you should text before you come, because my house was really messy, and I thought I didn't have the motivation to clean my house. And I thought if she said she's coming and I had like half an hour to clean my flat or something, that'd be alright. But she just showed up out of nowhere, like, she showed up out of nowhere, and I answered the door, and she says her brother's coming soon, and like, the deal was me, her brother, and us were going to live in my flat. And her brother wanted a job, and then her brother was going to get a job and maybe move out later when he had income. And when he had financial stability. And I was alright with that. But when she showed up at my door, I didn't want to let her in because it was so messy, and I didn't want to be embarrassed in front of her brother, because my house was such a state that I just felt like it'd be embarrassing for her brother to see it. I didn't really care about her seeing it, but I cared about her brother seeing it, so I was saying, "You can't come in." And then she got really angry, and I didn't even see her brother, but her brother was around the corner or something, and I said she can't come in, and she has to wait for me to clean or something. And then she was really angry, and then her brother came, and they were both shouting up to me, and I was at the window, and I was saying wait half an hour or something. They wouldn't. Her brother was alright about waiting, but she said nah, and then she got really angry and said she's never coming back, and that was heartbreaking. Like, she's just such a mess. Like, her emotions are just mental. Like, there's no... She was like, disappointing. That really did my head in. I'd been waiting her for 2 months or something, and then she just... I said, text, make sure you text before you come, and she just doesn't follow any instructions. She just does whatever she feels like doing, and then she's got bipolar, she's diagnosed with, and that left me in tears that day, and such a depressing thing to happen. And I'd been talking to this girl from New York on YouTube, and I felt like this girl should be more normal than Indre, and yeah, I'd like comment on YouTube on her videos, and she'd reply and stuff, and we got to know each other a bit. And then, this is the biggest story. What's coming now is like the biggest story out of all the whole videos. This video's been nearly 2 hours, but now it's like the biggest story coming, and it's just like the biggest event there was. And what happened was Indra was she'd pissed me off because she said she was going to live with me before she came to England. Then she was saying now she's fallen in love with this guy who was last fighting with her, and the flat she used to be in with this guy, and she says she's with him now or something. And because I felt like me and Indra are married, and I took it seriously from day one as a marriage, and she's married to me and she's sleeping with other men, and it's just wrong. Like, to me, it was wrong, and I felt so betrayed. Like, and just the mental fuss of that day in November when she came around my house without giving me a warning, and then I said, can't come in now, maybe wait half an hour, and she wouldn't wait, and she's saying, fuck off, I'm never coming back again. It was so so like sick. It's so nervy. It's nerve-wracking. Does my nerves in, like. So she was with him, and then one night I was feeling betrayed, and one night I knew she was going out clubbing, and I was so angry with her, of her betrayal, and I just thought to myself, I started doing witchcraft again. I said, I wanted to get stabbed in the stomach, and I want someone to like meet her outside the club, and then someone to stab her in the stomach with a knife or whatever. I was doing this thinking so intensely, like I wanted the best for her, but I was thinking like, this is necessary, like she's betrayed me, now she has to suffer the consequences, like no one fucks with me, like you're in a dangerous position there. And I just thought so hard about her getting stabbed in the stomach, and I did the thinking so intensely. I don't even like calling it witchcraft. All it is intention. And you want to make something happen, and fucking make it happen. And I was like, I was so angry, and like, I was like thinking, get a stab her in the stomach. And I didn't want it to be life-threatening, but I wanted it to be a significant injury. And because she was messing with me. And all the broken promises, all the shit, and I just thought, fuck it, stab her. And yeah, I wanted her to live. I just wanted her to get stabbed, and then I was doing this thinking for about half an hour, like maybe 50 minutes, 45 minutes. And then I got this message, like, I got the confirmation that it's going to be successful from the atmosphere. It just comes into my head like it's going to be successful now. And I said, alright, stop doing it. And then just went back to being peaceful. And then that night she went missing or something, and no one could find her, and her brother came to stay around at mine because he didn't feel comfortable in that flat with this other guy. And NJ was missing, and everyone was really worried. I wasn't very worried, and I didn't have any remorse at all. And she was missing for about 2 weeks, and after about a week or something, her brother and this other guy went to the library or something, and they made these posters with a picture on it and saying missing and everything. They were putting them on lampposts and stuff, and I didn't do any of that. I was just staying at home, and it was quite cold at that time. It was near Christmas, and After about 2 weeks, then brother said she'd found her, and then she was in these tents in the city centre, and they were there because of Occupy Norwich, the Occupy movement about the bank, against the bank, about Wall Street and all that. She'd been in these tents, and then she said she'd been raped, and she was pregnant. And the thing about that is, if you think about penetration of dick in the pussy, it's like being stabbed. And then, because she became pregnant, it's like her stomach. So it was like she'd been stabbed in the stomach. And she wanted to keep her baby. It was a black African drug dealer. And she said he had guns and stuff. And then there was riot police. There was riot police in the city going after this guy because they'd been told he had a gun. And then, like, near the new year, a brother asked a brother saw the guy, the African guy, and went up to him, and they were like in a group of friends or something, and the drug dealer guy, the guy who rapes thingy, hit him with a chain or something. He had cuts on his face from this chain when he came back. And he was outnumbered. He was good at fighting, but he was outnumbered, so he didn't bother. What had happened, Indra had met this guy outside a club, and then this guy with some other girls, they were going around his flat, so they'd met outside the club, and then, right, there was a court case about it, but I knew Indra wasn't lying. She just doesn't lie like that. And they lost the court case because, I don't know, just no one believes her. So all that stuff happened, and it's because of me. It's because of my witchcraft. And yeah, I tried to give up witchcraft before, but I got so angry that I didn't care anymore. I'll just fucking do that. And then she came round to my flat to stay at mine for a couple of weeks or something. But I didn't want to look after her baby. I didn't want to live with her baby, and I hated the idea of bringing someone else's children up. It was just sick. It's just a sick thing. And so I didn't even really want to be with her anymore. And I was trying to encourage her to, like, give up the baby to adoption, and she was really offended by that, and she thought I was trying to tell her to get an abortion, and I was like, no, to just adopt it, not abort it, like, but she didn't want that. She wanted to keep it, so later she got her own flat, or her own bed, her own flat in a type of building that had an office as well. And 9 to 5, I had like mental health workers working 9 to 5 or something. I went round her flat once and people were doing sleeping pills called Zopiclone or something. I've never had a sleeping pill in my life, and they encouraged me to try it, and I tried it, and like half an hour later I was like the most tired person in the room, and I just felt so tired I can't move. And it was cold outside, and they said I got to go home. And I had to walk home like half asleep, and that was fucking horrible. I can't understand how some people like that. That was fucking horrible. I was like sick. That's how you just destroy. I don't know. Didn't like it. And what happened that every time I saw a baby or a pram or something like that, I just felt so much resentment. Like, I started hating women every time I see a woman. I just hate that. Like, because I felt so jealous of whatever, anything. I saw her with a pram once, and I just walked past her. She was having a different life. I was living alone. She was living with her child. And then after a few months, like 6 months or something, she got her child taken away from her for something. I don't know, for not keeping the place clean or something. Or social services took her baby away, and then she was on her own in a bed and breakfast kind of place with a bar and Spixworth. I came to see her once, and another man came to see her at the same time who I knew, and I went round her place about 3 times, and then she was leaving to Lithuania. She was going back to Lithuania because can't remember why. But it's quite sad to see her go in like December 2015 or something. No, it was probably earlier than that, but I probably missed out like years between that time and that time, but in early 2015, her brother wanted to come back to mine, to stay at mine, to get settled in the UK, and he did come around mine. I let him come around mine. Like December 2014, another guy who used to live in my flat, another guy who was friends with him and friends with him. There was 2 people living in my flat, and after a few months I was starting to get a bit annoyed with it and just wanted the place to myself again. And December in 2015, I remember watching that Lucy film, and me and her brother really liked that film, and me and her brother and Indra had seen that film in in Lithuania, no, Limitless, a film called Limitless we saw in Lithuania at the cinema. And then we saw this film called Lucy, which was similar, in my flat in like 2015. And we were kind of like really enthralled with, we really liked it. The film, it was like December 2015. And that was good. We liked that. I was addicted to pornography, like, he was trying to find a job, his brother was trying to find a job, we did find a job eventually. We used to play basketball sometimes, then we got into gambling, roulette and poker, and we used to do martial arts, like, in the field, and he fractured my rib or broke my rib one day by kicking me, like a spinning kick, and that really hurt, and I went off the idea of fighting. I was thinking I'd turn into a professional fighter as well. He was turning into a fighter, and in September 2015 or something, he had his first fight, and it was on YouTube, and there was a crowd and everything, and he won, and he was really interested in that, and I was interested in reversing the aging process still, and I was interested in getting stronger, but also younger looking. And there was this one day where he went out to do martial arts in a Phoenix, in a club in Norwich called Phoenix Club or something, with me and Martel, and I didn't have the confidence to go there. I wanted to first get good at martial arts by myself, and then only go in public with it when I felt like I was good. But anyway, when he was going there, I was at home alone. I started doing loads of exercise at home. I was doing so much. Maybe he was out for about 6-7 hours maybe, you know. I did loads of exercise and dancing and handstands and all this, putting so much energy into it. And then it's because I wanted to make myself look younger, and I just tried so hard. I was shadow boxing, loads of stuff. And when I woke up in the morning, I looked in the mirror and I looked younger. And I made it. And then he came back that day, he came back and he said, I look younger, what's going on? He said, you look younger, what the fuck's going on? And I said, yeah, I know. I just said, yeah, I know, something like that. And I always had that confidence in myself that I could do that, because there were times where my eyelashes would fall out, but then if I put so much energy into it, I could get those eyelashes back. And I always thought, like, to reverse the aging process is possible. You just have to put effort into it. And I knew how to do it. And he left in October 2015. He left some meat in the fridge. I started, it took me like 2 or 3 years to go back to being vegetarian. It was bad. Anyway, this was like 2015 when he moved out, because there was some gangsters after him, and they knocked him out one day in the street, or maybe not knocked him out, but I think he knocked him out, but might have just hit him. He could easily beat them in a fight, but he just turned his head. He didn't expect anyone to punch him. Someone punched him in the head really hard when he wasn't looking, and yeah, I think he got knocked out and he woke up on the pavement, and he thought there was these guys trying to kill him, and they was all like into the devil and all that stuff, and they had cars, and they had an illegal business. How they were, I don't know, they were like running some people's lives and they were taking profits from people they controlled and stuff like that. And he was scared, so he went to live in Yarmouth. And when I found he was going to live in Yarmouth, I was like, nah, man, it's gay. I was thinking, like, Yarmouth is gay, and I don't think it's a good idea to move to Yarmouth, but I was quite pleased that he was moving out of my flat, because I'd have it to myself again for the first time in years, or the first time in a long time, and I started doing roulette and that, and I read on the internet that LSD and mushrooms can help with OC, obsessive compulsive thoughts. So, and then I read that LSD can make parts of the brain active that are usually inactive, and that was really interesting to me. That I always felt like drugs were really bad until 2013. I read something about coffee helping prevent Alzheimer's or prevent something, and so I started drinking coffee in 2013, and it seemed to do something, but I wasn't too keen on it, and then because I got anxious more. It's 2 hours 17:03 now. That's a good time. This video is really long, and that's what it's supposed to be like. It's supposed to be like this, and so let me think about this. What was happening? I was on my own, and I was thinking, I really want LSD or magic mushrooms, and this guy from Facebook who was a friend of someone else and who I knew, and I said a few sentences to him on Facebook, just typing, and it was about NLP. Like, I knew this, like, mind reading and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming ebooks, and memory training ebooks, and speed reading ebooks, and all this collection of ebooks, and I was really interested in developing my skills like that, and I shared it with a friend on Facebook, and then a friend of his said he wanted it as well, so I gave him the link to have it as well, and that's how I met this guy. And like one day, like early 2016, I think, he started talking to me on Facebook and saying, "How am I doing? Am I alright? And how's it going? I haven't heard from you for ages." Or something. And I was like, "I don't know, I'm fine." And then he kept saying stuff like, "How you doing, God? How you doing, man? And how have you been?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm fine, what?" And then we started talking every day. I don't know why. It was like he seemed to. He was acting like he knew me or something, and I hadn't really talked to him hardly at all. And he said one day, "I hadn't seen you for ages," and I was like, "What? I've never seen you before." Just knew how you looked on the camera. And then after about 3 months of talking every day, I found out that he knew this guy called George Barnard, and I was George Bernard. And that was funny. And then he said he knows where to pick magic mushrooms. So it was like October 2016, and the election was coming on. And I had like £3,000 left, and I put all that £3,000 for Trump to win, and I knew he was going to win. Well, I was like 97% sure Trump's going to win. I had like £3,000 on it, and when I won, it went up to £14,000. And I was really into roulette since 2008. Anyway, in October 2016, we went mushroom picking. I had to go back to the same village. It was the same village where I was on July the 3rd, 2007. It was the same village where I used to camp in. I used to camp in a field near that mill house, P32 1PQ. And it's because how I'd met his friend was he used to work in this mill house. And yeah, that's it. And he lived in the same village, and so we went round there, and he said we could go mushroom picking. I caught a bus to there. We picked some mushrooms. We found quite a few mushrooms and put them in a bag, and went home with them. And then we put a horror movie. We ate the mushrooms, and we put a horror movie on. And then, for the first time ever, I was like high on mushrooms, and it was amazing. It seemed like I was in a time warp. And like, I was watching this film. He'd gone to bed, and I was watching this horror film. And I kept, because of the obsessive compulsive things, I kept rewinding it back to a point in the film, and then watching it for about 5 minutes, then rewinding it again back to the same bit, and watching it and rewinding it again back to the same bit. It was like I was like in a cycle that I couldn't get out of. Like, I just kept having the urge to rewind it and put it back and watch that same bit again. And it was like a never-ending, what do you call that? Deja vu. It was like, there was this deja vu. Like, I felt like I was trapped in it. And everything just kept repeating itself. And the words in the film the film became so important to me, like it was giving me a message of what I'm supposed to do. And it was totally mental. And then I started feeling like I could do stuff like a poltergeist. Like, if I tried hard enough, I'd be able to turn a door handle without touching it. I'd be able to put my hand out and just do the action of turning the door handle remotely. But it was grounded in reality. Like, I believed I had to develop the strength to do that. Like, it'd take a lot of strength, and these mushrooms were making me stronger mentally. And I was thinking I could do things like this. I could push things that weren't in front of me, push things that were meters away from me. And I was trying to grab a door handle. I went in his room. I walked in this guy's room when he was in bed. He didn't really like that, and I come up to him. It was dark, and I started punching the wall behind him. And I was thinking, I'm gonna put a hole in this wall. And I was punching the wall really hard, and he was saying, "Fuck off, go away." And I was determined to like put a hole in the wall or something, and do some kind of feat of strength that I hadn't managed before. And I lifted up his wardrobe or something. Anyway, I got out of the room because he started to get really like agitated, and I went back in the living room. But then the next morning, I wanted to do even more mushrooms, and the plan was for the morning I was going to visit back to the place where I used to, the care home where I used to live, Millhouse. I was going to visit back there because people who worked there, I still knew those people who worked there, and it would be really nice to see them again. And I did loads of mushrooms in the morning, like 30. Like I did even more mushrooms than I'd had the night before. So I was walking back to Millhouse, and then suddenly, like, things just looked green. Like, everything looked like it was green. Like, everything looked like you see the outline of something, and it's like green outlines to everything, and everything's more green, and this is weird. I felt kind of off balance, and I went into the garden of this mill house, and I just started to feel like I'm sick, and started to feel like a child again. I started to feel like I was 5 years old, and I had this echoes in my head or something, and there was this guy talking from across the way, and I felt like he was talking to me, and I felt like he was angry at me or something, and there was a really weird shit going on then. And I felt regret for doing this, and then I was feeling like shit, I'm brain damaged, I'm gonna get brain damage, and when it's permanent. Like, I was thinking I wouldn't ever get back my I'd just go back to being like a 5-year-old, and I started to feel really stupid about myself, and felt like anyone could just take the piss out of me, and I felt like a silly drug guy or something, and it was like I was feeling about myself like I used to think about other people who use drugs, and the guy who used to live there was one guy who used to live there, used to do lots of drugs, and I started to feel like the reputation I have is like his now, and I'm just a stupid drug addict person, and felt really depressed, and I was so... It was like all my intelligence was gone, and I just felt like I should go to primary school or something. Felt like I should be going back to school or something, and it's really uneasy feeling, and it was like I could hear the people talking. It felt like it sounded like an echo. Like their talking was slowed down. They were talking like really, really slowly when it was just an illusion. But I felt like how I was hearing their voice was like really, really slow, even though they didn't move their mouth slowly. Their voices were really slow, and it was all echoey, and fucking hell, man. This was not nice. And I started to feel embarrassed in front of the staff. Like I'd come back to see them after years, and I was like a total mess. I'd seen them the night before I did any mushrooms, and it was good to catch up with them. And then I come back this time, and I was like a total mess. I was like trying to hide myself because I didn't want anyone to see me like that, but then just felt like then I got really scared. I felt like I have to hide. I don't want anyone to see me, and I felt like I started to get really scared of the cars, and felt like I could be there could be a crash because someone could drive into me, because I was so out of this I was just so out of my head that I started to really be scared of something to come into some accident. Like, I wanted to... I came into this room. I came into this inside, and maybe I was walking on the road before, and I came back inside, and there was a place on the floor. I just wanted to be in this corner, and I was crouching down in the corner, telling this woman that I knew, saying I might die today, and I was saying, like, I think I might die today, and I was feeling physically really unwell, and I was I wanted to hide, because it felt like hiding was the only way I was gonna survive, and in this body. And later on, maybe 2 or 3 hours later, these feelings wore off, and I realised I didn't have brain damage, and I was still quite high, and I walked down this road, and I felt like even if a car runs me over, I'm just going to keep on going. Maybe not in this body, like my body would be left behind, and I'll just keep flying. Like, I know I'm going to be able to see everything as it is and just fly away. And it didn't scare me to get hit by a car. Like, and then the car come behind me, and I was standing in front of it, and I was watching my feet, and I wasn't moving out of the way for the car, and it was like, this is where I walk, this is my road, kind of thing. And after about 15 seconds of doing that, 10 seconds of doing that, I moved it out of the way for the car. And it was like, you can go now. And then when the car was coming my way, don't know, I just felt like quite powerful. And then I saw someone working on a house. They were building a house, 2 people building. I can't remember what I did, but I attracted their attention somehow. I was talking to them from afar. And then later on, they came past me. They were coming past me in a car. And one of them stopped. They stopped, and they asked me what I was on. I said I was high on mushrooms, and they were in... This one guy, the driver, was really interested in me, and he was saying, let me take a photo of you. He said I looked really out of it or something, and he was asking me what it's like and everything, what my experience is, and I was telling him how I'd felt, and he said his wife was really interested in trying magic mushrooms, and then he thought he wanted to film me. He wanted to take a video or something of how I was, and then he wanted to ask me loads of questions about it so that he could tell his wife how it was. And then she was really wanting to try it. I said we can go to the place where I pick them if you want. I'll show you the field where I pick them. He was like, nah, that's alright, man. And then they just thought this one guy thought it was really funny, and this other guy, who was a bit younger, was a bit suspicious, a bit. He was alright, but this same guy, before, when I'd seen him off the street, he was really what is your problem? He didn't appreciate my presence really, but when we'd stopped, he was a bit more easy with me, and it was a strange experience anyway. I was on my own. I walked back to this guy's flat. that was over. Then I was going back home the next day, and that was it. I'd done it. I'd done mushrooms, and I understood how they were, and I'd thought they'd helped me to feel like safer or more normal. Apart from that one time, from that one time I understood that I just need to avoid panicking, and yeah. I know, it was a bit weird, the whole thing, but the first night was so empowering that it was just great, I'd thought maybe we'd done something wrong the second time, and we'd mixed it with another. Anyway, I went back home, and still wasn't the election, and after I'd won £14,000 or £11,000 at least, I played roulette, and I went right up to like 30,000. And then the guy who was picking mushrooms with me, he called me when I was on like £30,000, and he was making me nervous, and the things he was saying, or the way he was talking to me, was making me nervous. And then after I talked on the phone with him, I lost that whole 30,000, or I only had like less than 1,000 left or something like that, and I'd been winning for like 2 months.